Hi, I'm Brent Stafford, and this is RegWatch by RegulatorWatch.com. We're here in Warsaw, Poland for GFN 24, and sitting with me is the eminent Dr. Konstantinos Farsalinos. How's it going?
Hi, Brent, once again. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Last time we spoke, actually, was remotely. You were down in Panama
Exactly.
for the WHO FCTC's COP10. What did you make of that?
Of the COP10, well, it was another disappointment from the WHO's perspective. Again, they were focusing on issues that are irrelevant to the real problem, which is smoking. They were attacking and criticizing countries which raised issues concerning harm reduction, the discussion, the science used by the WHO concerning harm reduction. There were organizations that were delivering dirty ashtray awards to anyone who was raising the issue of harm reduction. That's really, a disappointment. And if you look at the last 14 years, I would say, since 2010, the rhetoric from the WHO has always been the same. We're against harm reduction. Harm reduction is part of the problem. And what we're seeing over time is they're focusing more on harm reduction to the point that they present as a bigger problem, harm reduction, than smoking. Few days ago, the WHO tweeted, what is a product that smells nice, looks good, and is designed to kill? And the answer was a vape.
Designed to kill.
Designed to kill. It's unacceptable. It gets to a level of fanatism that goes, it's not only that it's not scientific, it's not based on science. It reminds me of being in a football field with two opposing teams and all the fanatics from one side and then from the other side and shouting like crazy without even looking at enjoying the football match. Something like that. I can't believe that an organization which is supposed to protect people from harms and provide information, reliable, unbiased information, so that everyone makes informed decisions, has reached to such a low level of miscommunication, misinterpretation, and mispresentation that they end up saying that a harm reduction product, which today is probably the best smoking cessation tool that we have, is a product designed to kill.
It feels dangerous.
Oh, yes, it is. It is because, unfortunately, a lot of people, not only society, but even more worryingly, regulators are listening to the WHO. And in some countries, particularly in developing countries, they are the only source of information for them, the WHO officials. And all their regulations and decisions are based on recommendations by the WHO. But what the problem with the WHO is that they are congratulating decisions and regulatory approaches that are perfectly in line with their recommendations without looking at the outcome. Have a look at India, for example. In India, they followed the recommendation of the WHO to ban vapes. They were officially, publicly congratulated by the WHO. But the WHO ignored that the prohibition created an explosion of e-cigarette use, an uncontrolled black market. I've been to India before the prohibition many times, trying to engage with the scientific community there and with regulators. It was extremely difficult to find vaping products there at that time, before the prohibition. You could rarely find someone vaping. You couldn't see it. After the prohibition, you can find vaping products in every street, in every corner, in every major city in India, not sold by independent vape shops, specialized stores selling the vaping products, but sold by whoever you can imagine. A shop selling textiles, a shop selling cooking equipment, whatever you can imagine. All these products are black market products, unknown quality, unknown source, unknown content. They are being smuggled into the country. Of course, as any black market, they are trying to target the most vulnerable populations, and that is youth. So in reality, the Indian government was supposed to solve a problem that didn't exist before the prohibition, and with the prohibition, they created the problem that they were supposed to solve. It's not that they had any sort of an issue that they wanted to take care of. So as a precaution, they created a problem that was not existing before, and now they have no control of it.
I can't help but think that the US is the ground zero for a bunch of this misperception. I mean, it kind of always felt that it started there, and then of course you got Bloomberg.
Oh,
there.
yes. Bloomberg is funding the whole tobacco control part of the WHO. Let's not forget about it. He's the main source of funding. And not only the WHO, they are creating NGOs all over the world, in developing countries, Southeast Asia, for example, trying to influence decisions, trying to influence regulators towards a prohibitory approach, and doing ad hominem attack to anyone who has a different opinion. And that's the only reason for the existence of these NGOs. They're not involved into any sort of research. They're not doing anything. They're not serving use in the region or in the country where they're being established. They're only doing that kind of lobbying, which kills lives. India is the #1 country in incidence rates of oral cancer, in death rates from oral cancer, because they have some toxic, deadly, smokeless tobacco products. And when a company wanted to enter the market and sell Scandinavian snus, which as we know has no risk of developing oral cancer, they were thrown out by the government. And that happened long before the prohibition on electronic cigarettes. They were thrown out. So these people still die from horrible oral smokeless products, and they don't even have the opportunity to try something different like nicotine pouches or even snus, which is a tobacco product. And the government has been congratulated for this approach. Yeah. Can you believe that?
I'm still can't believe that the WHO puts out a tweet that says a vaping device is designed to kill.
Designed to kill 2 or 3 days ago.
It's just shocking.
And Twitter users are adding context below the tweet, so you understand that they are risking their credibility.
It almost is like they don't care anymore about their credibility. They're only speaking to their own side, I guess.
Well, I think that they've gone far over the line of having even the most moderate of people understanding that something is wrong in this approach. They are so unreasonable, so much denying of science. They're engaged in so much denying of science, so much cherry picking of evidence. I mean, they still say that there is no evidence that e-cigarettes help people quit. After having Cochrane reviews, not one, even updated Cochrane reviews, saying that clearly the evidence shows that e-cigarettes are not only just effective in smoking cessation, they are twice more effective than nicotine replacement therapies. There is no doubt, there is high quality evidence. Still they say there is no evidence that e-cigarettes help people quit. What do you expect? I mean, after that, at some point their arguments don't work because the evidence is so overwhelming. In previous years, there was some uncertainty. We still didn't have high quality evidence. Someone may express an opinion. But today, it's not a period of having opinions. We have evidence. If you're denying evidence, something is wrong with you. It's not the problem of the data. The data are there. And everyone can see them. Everyone can have access to it. The problem is that they're denying the existence of scientific evidence. That means that they have a specific agenda and that they approach this issue from a political rather than a public health perspective. And I think, as you mentioned before, Bloomberg is playing a huge role into that.
In the US, policymakers continue to decry flavors as fundamentally important to the evils of e-cigarettes. You've done great research on flavors. How important are flavors, and what would you say to those policymakers in the US?
2 years ago, a systematic review examined which are the factors that make electronic cigarettes attractive to adult smokers and former smokers. and they found that two are the main factors: high nicotine levels and availability of different flavors. These are the two main factors that determine the attractiveness of the product for adult, I repeat, adult smokers and former smokers. The authors concluded that the availability of different flavors are important in an effort for a smoker to quit. We have data even from US studies, but not only from US studies, that non-tobacco flavors increase the odds of quitting smoking for adult smokers. Do you know anyone, not just adults, but even the elderly, that don't want to eat something that tastes well, don't want to smell something that has a very nice smell? I mean, since when is flavors an issue only for young people? It has never been the case for anything, for anything. So what the regulators are trying to do using this flavors argument, which is completely invalid, they're just going to prevent smokers from quitting. They're going to make vapers relapse back to smoking, and at the same time they're not going to protect anyone because they can't ban flavors. They can ban labeling a flavoring product as being suitable for vaping. But flavorings are not unique to e-cigarettes. Flavorings in electronic cigarettes are coming from the food industry. So they cannot ban food flavors. They can only say that you're not allowed to sell it for vaping products, but that will not prevent anyone from selling something with a label food flavoring and giving it to someone to vape it. It can even create problems of people searching for flavors, getting some food flavorings which are dissolved in vegetable oil, which is not suitable to be inhaled. So they will put consumers at risk. But the problem is that they're not going to protect anyone. They will create another black market or a gray market because the products will be legal in terms of the compounds. It's just going to be sold for an illegal purpose, which is intended vaping use. So they're going to create a grey market. Again, no control by the government, no protection for everyone because they will have access to. So they're just going to lose control of a market. They're going to lose the opportunity to apply their own rules, marketing rules, promotion rules, whatever they feel is appropriate. So there is no benefit, there is only harm. It's a lose-lose situation, basically, both for what their intended purpose is, but also with other unintended effects concerning smokers and vapors.
Canada is on the precipice of instituting a national flavor ban.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah, which will never work. I don't know why they're not learning from other countries where such prohibitions were implemented or from other sectors where prohibitions were created. I mean, what's happening with marijuana today? Tell me. What's going on with marijuana? All governments are going to or are in the process or have already legalized recreational use of marijuana. So the same governments act like crazy when they talk about nicotine. But why?
And it's crazy because recreational nicotine is already legal, only in the form of cigarettes.
Yeah, exactly. And it will remain legal after the restrictions. And the thing is that, nicotine is perfectly socially compatible. It's compatible with social life. It improves cognition. It improves concentration. It may have protective effects against diseases of the central nervous system, such as Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease. At the same time, however, there is no adverse effect from nicotine. The problem has always been the source of nicotine intake, tobacco cigarette. On the contrary, marijuana reduces cognition and reduces concentration. Depending on the conditions, it can even become dangerous when, for example, someone is driving or using any kind of hazardous equipment. So why is the same government that accepts or is in the process of accepting the recreational use of marijuana, why are they acting like crazy against nicotine? It makes no sense. It's a paradox. They're contradicting themselves for no reason. So we are experiencing, and the WHO started it, an anti-nicotine crusade. That's what we're facing. We're not facing an anti-smoking battle. We are witnessing an anti-nicotine crusade. The WHO believes that it's better to be nicotine free than to be smoke free and have some residual nicotine use, but they are compromising our smoke free future in order to get to a goal which will never be achieved of having a nicotine free world. So they are pretending that we will at some point have an ideal world where no nicotine will ever be available. It's like pretending that we will never have traffic accidents, we will never have crime, we'll never have people robbing or even killing others, as if all these are going to disappear. It's the same mentality when we talk about a nicotine-free world. But what they're doing is that they're punishing smokers. Basically, they're sacrificing them. They're saying that these are dead people, so because they're not providing them with tools to quit. And they're just saying that, we will create a nicotine-free future world by not having kids using these products, but they're not even achieving that. Because these products will always be available, there will be gray and black markets, and the kids are going to be the number one target for gray and black markets.
Yeah, because smugglers and black market sellers, they're not regulated, so they're going to.
Of course, they're going to do whatever they want. They're illegal in every case.
Let me ask you this. I'm not sure if you saw this. Just recently, U.S. FDA Commissioner Robert Califf, in testimony to the Congressional Oversight Committee, when asked about tobacco harm reduction and if FDA follows, THR, he absolutely would not address it. The only thing he would say is that THR is an industry term.
Really?
Yes, he said it like 3-4 times. Finally, the last part of it, he said it's a part of a advertising campaign from the industry.
What was the term that he preferred to use?
He just rejected THR.
If I may, tobacco harm reduction product is an industry term.
So in addition to vaping, you have other products like Zyn or something similar to that. Would you consider that to be a harm reduction product?
The term harm reduction tends to be used by industry to cover a lot of different areas.
Commissioner, in this hearing, you have said that the term harm reduction is an industry term or a term that industry uses. But to be clear, it's not just industry that uses this term. The Institute of Medicine uses it. And the concept of harm reduction has been embraced in other countries. That is, they accept and communicate that there are options that are less risky than a traditional cigarette. Are we ever going to get to that point in this country? Do you accept this idea?
Definitely accept the idea. Your point is well taken that industry is not the only entity to use it. But what I want to avoid, speaking of harm reduction, we've talked about combustible tobacco kills people. Neither using vaping or combustible tobacco is the healthiest thing you can do. Vaping, compared to none of the above, has residues that are quite concerning for long-term use. I'm just worried that when we use the term harm reduction now, it's often part of a vast advertising campaign that's not taking account of the addiction side.
I hear that harm reduction because tobacco harm reduction is just one part of harm reduction. Harm reduction, is a universal term and with a universal approach for very, very different activities, behaviors that we are facing every day in our lives. We have harm reduction for electromagnetic radiation, in the chemical industry, in accidents, traffic accidents, driving with the use of seatbelts, riding motorcycles with the use of helmets and using equipment, clothing equipment, protective equipment. Harm reduction is a very common term which has nothing to do with any commercial entity. And when we talk about tobacco harm reduction, of course, we're talking about harm reduction related to smoking use or to the use of other harmful tobacco products. So I don't understand how he responded that this is some sort of a novel term that has been used for advertising, marketing purposes. The response makes no sense. I feel that he just didn't want to answer the question.
You know what it is that they just want big tobacco to burn to the ground.
No, what kind of an approach is that?
I know.
We are accusing the use of sugar supplements different substitutes for sugar,
right,
which are 0 calorie and don't have any burden for increasing blood sugar levels for diabetics. But we are accusing these companies of creating these products because they're also the ones who have sugar-containing products. Can you understand anything? I mean, is there any common sense behind that argument? So we are accusing harm reduction because the tobacco industry is using that. That's not an argument.
I know.
That's even politically speaking, that's not an argument. I don't want to say what exactly I feel it is because it wouldn't be very polite, but that's not an argument, seriously.
Yeah, and so looking at the US, because it drives so much stuff, right? I mean, it's the largest vaping market in the world, $12 billion a year annually, right? The next closest one is the UK at 2. So, I mean, the US is a juggernaut. Nothing's been approved. I mean, the 23 products is really only 4. It's all tobacco flavored. The devices are old. The entire market in the US is a black market.
And they did exactly what they hate. They say that they hate. They delivered harm reduction to a monopoly owned by the tobacco industry in reality. So they say that they hate the term the harm reduction because it's used by the industry, but their own regulations ended up having a market which is wholly basically owned by the tobacco industry. It was their rules who created this. Because when we were advocating, we were discussing about the US situation, we said, make some rules which are reasonable, not over-restricted, not over-expensive. Otherwise, you're going to create a tobacco industry monopoly. So they are so much against the tobacco industry, they are so much haters of the tobacco industry that through their own rules and regulations, they delivered harm reduction to the plate of the tobacco industry only. So how much more paradoxical can their behavior be? I mean, seriously.
Yeah,
seriously.
So the FDA is approving only tobacco industry products.
And that's the design of the rules that they implemented. So it was by design. Everyone knew you had to be very naive to think that any independent manufacturer would have the necessary resources, mainly financial, but even logistical, scientific resources, to apply and get approval from the FDA with the level of strictness within the regulation. So they knew from the beginning that the end result would be a tobacco industry monopoly for harm reduction. So now they're saying that we hate the tobacco industry, but we delivered harm reduction to the industry because no one else could comply. That's a paradox, really literally.
So the FDA is practicing sophistry.
And hypocrisy at the highest level. Seriously, I want to be as polite as I can, but this is irresponsible behavior. And there seems to be no accountability. When he says these things, he should also explain that, we gave harm reduction to the tobacco industry because our rules were created in a way that would end in a tobacco industry monopoly. So we've excluded who? Those who are not linked to the industry. That's exactly what they did. It's their rules. Now, how can they now pretend to be the haters of the tobacco industry? I don't get it.
It's been about maybe 8 years since we started covering this issue, almost that long since we've first been talking.
Yeah.
It feels like things have gotten worse.
Exactly. And, that's another paradox. The more research that we're having about the lower risk potential of these products, convincing, overwhelming research, and about their efficacy as smoking substitutes, the worse the regulatory and political environment is becoming for these products. That's another thing that doesn't make sense. I mean, I would expect far more resistance and far more reluctancy to endorse harm reduction 5 years ago, 10 years ago, limited understanding, low quality evidence, not enough evidence, not very convincing evidence. Yes, the prospects were always there, but we didn't have enough scientific data. Now, after so many years, hundreds of studies, we're starting seeing meta-analysis, reviews of studies. And the resistance and the fight against harm reduction is becoming stronger. Well, something is wrong. That's not a scientific approach. That's not even a public health approach. there's something else going on. Probably we haven't figured it out. But that's not science and that's not public health, let's be honest.